we're going to introduce, this is a dessert. Figured, Valentine's Day is around the corner. We need to use chocolate. Christy's not here to lecture me, and no, chocolate. Even Christy loves chocolate. We just produced a video. It's on our YouTube. We released it yesterday with me and Christy talking about how amazing chocolate is for you, and then we even prepare a nice little frozen berry with a dark chocolate fudge recipe, and it's on our YouTube page. So you can definitely check that out. All the information is on the front. So we're going to start off with super simple base of almonds. We're going to grind them up. So you can use whole almonds. I just happen to have sliced here. Whole almonds. We have some large flaked oats. Again, talking about fiber. We're going to add a little bit of honey. You can use maple syrup too. And that's actually going to help sweeten it, but it's also going to help bind the crust together. Now, most crusts use a lot of butter. So this, we're going to actually use a little bit of grapeseed oil. You don't need too much, but a couple tablespoons. You can use olive oil too. I would probably use olive oil. And just fuzz it up. And so it doesn't take long. Just until it starts to clump together. So let's see, I'll go a little bit longer. Okay, done. If you need a little bit more moisture, you can add a little bit more honey or a little bit more of that grapeseed oil. And we're going to pour that. Try to get as much as possible into our baking dish. Now, as you may or may not know, I don't bake often. I don't make too many desserts. So some of these recipes, including this one, this morning I was like crossing my fingers because I'm not sure if it was going to work or not. But it did work, so that's going to go in there. We're going to keep the food processor here. We're going to use it in a second. And you can just use your hands or you can use a spoon. It's probably easier with your hands. And just kind of press that down to make your crust. Yeah, that would actually be good. Wet, or you can even put a little bit of butter or oil. Grease up your fingers, yep. Olive oil is good for your hands, so there's nothing wrong with that. Then you can dress your salad after, and nothing goes to waste. Okay, so the oat almond crust is in there. And now for the filling. So we're going to start off with 4 eggs. Now, yes, eggs have cholesterol. You do want to, especially when you're looking out for your gallbladder, you want to not overdo it on the eggs. This is for an entire pie, so it's in moderation. You wouldn't want to eat the entire thing, probably in one sitting. And we have a little bit of, this is just pure whole cane sugar. You can use, again, you can use honey here, again, maple syrup. We're going to buzz that up. And we're going to add, I have a little bit of, about a cup of evaporated skim milk. You can use almond milk here too, for dairy-free. The evaporated, the reason I'm using the evaporated, and you can find them in the skim milk versions as well, it withstands heat a little bit better. It doesn't break on you. So if I were to simmer skim milk, it'll separate. But the evaporated skim milk holds together a little bit better. So for baking, it's actually pretty good. And it just until warm. I don't want this boiling. I don't want to scramble my eggs after, otherwise there's no turning back at that point. It's breakfast and no dessert. So just until warm, and we're going to add our dark chocolate here. So when choosing dark chocolate, especially for the nutritional benefits, you want at least 75 or 70%. 70% is where you want to start. That's for me usually where I stop too. You can go more, and they have 80%, they have 90%. I find 70% is like the perfect balance of, you know what, I can tell this is good for me, but it still tastes good. And then I'm not, you know, eating asphalt, which is like just a little too rough. So the chocolate is going to go in there, and just so it softens up a little bit. And we're going to add that to this mixture here. Now when you're adding, even though it's warm, it's not that hot, you just want to do a little bit at a time, just to begin. We call that tempering. So you're just slowly raising the heat level of your eggs. Again, you don't want to scramble them, just in case it is a little hotter than warm. And you can use like a nice raw cocoa powder in this as well. You have the chocolate. And there's not too many ingredients, which is nice. So the chocolate's in there. Buzz that up just until it combines. So that's pretty much it. And then I'm just going to add just a little bit. I just have a little bit of almond flour. You can use regular all-purpose flour, just a couple tablespoons. You can use quinoa flour. So for our purposes, it's gluten-free, which is great. There are oats in it, which oats don't contain gluten, but sometimes they're processed in facilities that do. So that's the only thing you got to watch out for. If you do have a gluten intolerance, you have to find oats that say processed in a oat-only zone, whatever they call that, I'm not sure. So blend, and that's done. And this is where I started to get worried this morning, because this looks like hot chocolate, and it doesn't look like it's going to make a sort of cake, but it will.
Can you use a blender if you don't have a food processor?
100%, yeah. You can use it. The only reason, yeah, you don't want the blade to be in there. The only reason, yeah, take blade out of cake. The only reason I use the food processor is because it's easier to grind the almonds. In a blender, it's actually pretty difficult. It's near impossible to grind unless you have a wide mouth or wide bottom blender. So Vitamixes are pretty good, although they're $800. But yeah, Ninja. So there's some of them that are the wide base, so you can use those. But the mixture itself, blender. The nuts, you might need, yes, food processor or something. So that's it. We're going to add our frozen cherries in there. And because I'm able, to make this in under 10 minutes, this is a good dessert for me. And these frozen cherries, you can find almost anywhere now. I mean, I could never find these before. And now every grocery store is carrying these frozen pitted cherries for like $4, $5 in a huge bag, which is absolutely incredible. So throw a few of those on. The oven, because you followed the recipe, has been preheated in advance to 350 degrees, and that's going to bake for about 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like. So you have, it's actually, so it went from that very liquidy substance to very, very firm. And it's still very moist though, so it's almost like a moussey brownie cake. That's what it is. Really, really tasty. You have that dark chocolate. You can add a few of the sliced almonds now. If you like a little bit of flaked salt with chocolate too, and just like Literally 2 flakes is all you need on top. And then you can add a few shavings as well. I'm just getting chefy because I want to show off in front of everybody, but you can just use a knife and on that bar of chocolate, just press it towards you. You get these like little flake curls. Don't touch it with wet hands because it's melting. But that's it, you know. Simple dessert. Takes 30 minutes to cook, but 10 minutes to prepare, put together, and yeah, perfect for Valentine's.